All right, geometry, welcome to chapter 2. You want to pick up your chapter 2 packet, which is kind of a lavender color. It should have a heading like this on the top. But we'll get going and try to keep this video short. So chapter 2 is dealing with logic, and we're going to start in 2.1 inductive reasoning and making conjectures. So that's going to be followed with trying to find a counterexample to somebody's conjecture. So we'll talk about counterexamples a little bit later. I might just talk about some examples and not what's necessary in the note packet here. So, and then you have your vocab too. So first one, I think you see in your packet, you have this example here. We find this pattern of numbers 2, 4, 12, 48, 240, and we want to figure out what is the pattern, what is the sixth term that we could make a conjecture that's going to be. So go ahead and hit pause, try to figure that out right now. All right, so as we look at this, you might want to kind of write them out and try different things. You might have added 2 to 2 and got 4, but then when you add 2 to 4 again, you get 6. That's not going to work to get 12. You might have added 3. No, that's still going to give us 7. So then we'll probably need to do multiplication. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then 4 times 2 would be 8. Well, maybe we need to take it times 3. And yeah, we get 12. And then take 12 times 4 and we get 48. So it looks like we kind of have a pattern there. So times 2, then take the 4 times 3, and 12 times 4, and the 48 times 5. And then we kind of figure out that, hey, the next one's going to be times 6. So we need to take 240 times 6. And when we do that, we get 1440. So that's how we solve this one. On the next one, or next little slide on your packet, is probably blank. So you might need a pause, try to figure this out. Feel free to copy this down. You need to copy those 5 numbers down to help you out. So go ahead and do that now. One thing I've already said, when you look at this one, you might need to look at number 1 and see if you can make a fraction of it. And how do we do that? Well, just put 1 over 1. That's just 1. So does that help you? Go ahead and hit pause if you want to look that up. So obviously the 1 doesn't change, so I can make that conjecture right now that, hey, I know the top's going to be 1 for my 6th term here, but what's going on with the bottom? What's unique about each of those numbers? And some people might say, oh, it goes up 3, goes up 5, goes up 7, goes up 9, and then it would go up 11. Hey, you could do it that way. But also, if you look at these are all squared numbers. 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared, and obviously 1 squared. So if we look at that pattern, well, now we'd get the 6th term would just be 6 squared, which is actually just 36. So there's our conjecture, and that's what we're looking for that problem. On this one, you might want to copy down. Here's a given. What do we know if it tells us that, hey, in this drawing with AE or line AE bisects, or not bisects, but intersects line DC at point B? Well, anytime 2 lines intersect, it's going to give us vertical angles. So they're talking about, hey, angle ABC, which is this angle up on top here, and then angle DBE is that angle down there. Both of them have a point B in it because that's a vertex of, or the intersecting part where both angles, it's the only point both of those angles share. So we talked about vertical angles in chapter 1. Here it is in chapter 2 again. And like I probably said in class, we're going to see it in chapter 3, chapter 4, and not necessarily chapter 6. So we might. So what kind of conjecture could we make? What do we know about vertical angles? Well, so go ahead and pause, think about it for a second, see if you can recall a little bit from chapter 1. But from chapter 1, we talked about vertical angles. Their measurements are going to be equal to each other. The angles are congruent to each other. So either one of those, I think we wrote here that angle ABC is congruent to angle DBE because that's what we know about vertical angles. So that's a true conjecture we can make there. We could say something else. Their measurements are equal to each other. That would also be true. Real quick here, which one goes with this statement? Go ahead and read those through. See if you can isolate it. As you kind of play along with this, or kind of read it out, if you just take one statement at a time, A is isosceles. Well, B is not an isosceles triangle, so you can throw that one out right away. Angle C is a right angle. Well, A Angle A is the right angle, that one, so that one's out. So now we're just down to D or C. And again, going back, angle C is a right angle. Well, D doesn't even have a right angle in it. So therefore, our answer, we don't even need that last clue of AE is a hypotenuse, which does agree with this. AE is the hypotenuse of this right triangle, so that agrees. So therefore, that's our correct answer. Here we got to work on counterexamples. So here's a conjecture somebody made looking at this chart. It said the unemployment rate is the highest with the cities with the most people. And on this one, when you look at it, you can kind of look at, my eyes kind of go to that 11.3% that Maverick has of unemployment rate. Well, what do you notice about Maverick though? Is it the largest city? Not quite. Obviously, or a county, we're not talking about cities, the counties here. But we want to keep going with that and notice that in this one, Maverick is obviously quite a bit smaller than El Paso and Cameron. So it's not the largest one, but it has the most unemployment rate to see what's going on with this. So in this one, without you guys can see this table in your note packet too, but what we want to see is our counterexample to this would be Maverick. Maverick has the highest unemployment rate, but it doesn't have the most people. So that'd be one of the key examples to use on that. I think the rest kind of fall in line, but Maverick doesn't. So that'd be a counterexample that proved that conjecture false. Another counterexample would be, if you guys were in class, I would probably look around the room and try to find a color that everyone's wearing, but then I knew somebody wasn't, and we might talk about, hey, everyone's wearing black today. Well, we have somebody that's wearing all blue, red, and all colorful colors, but no black. Well, that would be that student would be a counterexample to my conjecture. So hopefully that helps. Bring your questions to when we come to class. Feel free to email your teachers, and we'll see you there. Okay? Good luck on your assignment.